Good morning and welcome back to my channel. So if you are new here, click on that like button, click on that subscribe button. My name's Gannon and I'm a UK-based property investor / landlord. I'm quite known just for doing my no frills videos. I'm out there keeping it real, doing the things that no one's ever really done before and sharing the real journey of a landlord and a property investor from the ground upwards. So I share the bad stuff and I share the good stuff. So why am I here today? Well, before I get started, smash that subscribe button. I want to talk to you about buy-to-lets versus other property strategy. Over my forums on social media over the last week or so, people have been asking, is buy-to-let dead? Is buy-to-let still something that is investable? Do you still get a good return? So I wanted to talk about buy-to-let specifically. Now, buy-to-let is where you take one property, rent it out to one person or to a family. And that's your mainstay. That's been the bread and butter of property investing for many, many years. I don't do that. I've never done that. I don't do buy-to-lets specifically. It's not a strategy that I choose. Why don't I do it? Well, to be quite honest with you, the returns are really low. So let's break this down. Firstly, with a buy-to-let property, if you're going to take a mortgage, there's something called a stress test, and that's where the mortgage provider will require the rent from the property to be around 1.5 times the mortgage that you're paying, which is going to be very difficult. Now, the average rent across the UK is about £850 a month, excluding central London right now. So that in itself is going to be quite hard to achieve. You're going to need to put 25% deposit down to buy the property, which means you'll get 75% loan to value. That means the bank will give you 75% of what the house is worth. So we've got a couple of problems here. First of all, the affordability. Now, if you do manage to pass the affordability test, you've then got to think about how much money are you locking in to that deal. So with a buy-to-let, unless you've done a massive refurb and put extensions on and really turned that property into something very, very different, then the chances are you're going to be locking your initial deposit, 25%, and any refurbishment costs and all of your legals and your stamp duty into that property for many years. That means it's going to have to stay in there, and unless you sell, you're not going to get that money back out to be able to invest into something else. So you're going to have your money locked in. It's going to be hard to pass the stress test, and the monthly returns, i.e. profit, are going to be quite low compared to other strategies. Now, the other thing to consider as well, if you're doing buy-to-let and you've got one unit, you've got one stream of income, and it's either full or it's empty. There's no in between. So if you've got void periods where tenants aren't interested and you're not renting it out, then it's going to cost you quite a lot of money. In fact, it's going to cost you 100% of your expenses, right? Because you're not earning any cash. So buy-to-lets are not favourable. And certainly with the interest rates as they are at the moment, will they come down this year? Maybe, maybe not. Let's just wait and see. And unless you're in a very low capital value area or you're buying cash, then buy-to-lets at the moment aren't going to make you a huge amount of money, and you're going to lock your money in. So what do I invest in? What do I think is working right now? I invest in HMOs. That's houses in multiple occupation. That's where you've got 3 or more people forming more than one household with shared facilities. What's the difference? Well, a HMO is a house share, and we have a rule of 5s. So we need to have a minimum of 5 rooms. Now, it doesn't mean you have to buy a 5-bedroom house. You could buy a 3-bedroom house and repurpose the communal areas to turn it into a 5-person HMO. There is a few more things you have to consider. You might need planning permission. You're going to need a license under the mandatory licensing scheme. But here's the difference. HMOs are stress tested actually at a higher level than single lets, but your rent is going to be 5 times as much because you've got 5 people in there. Or maybe not exactly 5 times, but your rent's going to be considerably higher. So you've now got 5 streams of income. So straight away, you're going to pass that affordability test for the mortgage provider. Now, you can also, if you're in an Article 4 area, I'll do a separate video on that, which means that you need planning permission to turn that house into a HMO, then you're adding value straight away, because then it's going to be deemed as an investment. And because it's an investment, it means that your mortgage can be higher. So you can get a commercial mortgage now instead of a buy-to-let mortgage, which means that you may be able to borrow more money against that house. What does that mean? Well, that means that you can, after 6 months, refinance that property and pull out, maybe, if you do it correctly, all of the money that it's cost you to buy it. And then that property will be an infinite return on investment. And that's what we call momentum investing. We buy, we add value, we refinance. And you can't really do that with many buy-to-lets, but you can do it with HMOs. So it means that you can use the same pot of cash on your next deal, and your next deal, and your next deal, etc. And you can keep going. And that's how I invest. That's how I've built up my portfolio of about £8.5 million over the last 10 years, by buying the right deals, adding that value, refinancing at a higher price, and then using that money to go again and again and again. There are a few other things you need to consider with HMOs, because there's a lot of legislation. You've got the Housing Act, of course, you've got licensing, you've got planning permission, you've got the tenancies, what tenancy to use, you've got to manage the properties correctly. You know, you've got all of those things to consider, but we're going to get paid quite handsomely and quite a lot more than we would if it was a buy-to-let property. So if you're considering getting involved in property, put a comment below. Let me know what your strategy is. Let me know what your thoughts are. I really want to sort of bring this out there and have an open debate. Now, your buy-to-let portfolio could very well be making you money because you might have bought it years ago. That's great. But right now, in this market, it's not something that I would encourage people to go out and do. I would encourage serviced accommodation, furnished holiday lets, multiple unit freehold blocks of flats, or MUFB as we call them in the industry, and HMOs. HMO market is very strong, folks. I did a YouTube video about 8 years ago saying that watch this space. HMOs are going to be strong. They're going to get stronger. And goodness me, loads of people didn't like it in the comments because they thought that buy-to-lets were the way forward. Anyway, just my thoughts. It works for me. I'm out there doing this on a daily basis. And thanks for watching. If you do like my videos, please do subscribe. Please do leave a comment, and please do click that bell notification, and I'll see you on the next one.